Well, well, well. Just after I post what was supposed to be my final predictions video before the release of Chapter 3 and 4, we get a holiday newsletter. But that's totally fine. I kinda had a hunch that this was going to happen, and that's why I didn't actually title the video as Final Predictions. But there's quite a lot to go over, so let's get started. First of all, I really love the sprite work in this. All the animations are extremely expressive and adorable. I love just Toriel sticking out her tongue for the snowflake. It's incredibly wholesome, and what a stylish fit she's got. But also, the emphasis on a holiday rather than winter, I think, is a bit of wordplay, because not only is this releasing around the winter holidays, but also the holiday family in Deltarune, and as we'll see later in the newsletter, there's quite a bit to kind of unpack regarding teasers of the next few chapters. And of course we got our lovely Heat Flamesman. Ooh, tough luck, buddy. At least you didn't completely go away from that little snowflake. Gosh, Toby's Blue Sky account, honestly, is such a treat. I really love just that he's gone all out making silly memes and shitposts. It's just been so fun. And the House Carpet song that gained some traction for being so funny, what I love about that is it uses the same vocal samples as the song from Persona Trinity Soul, Burning Men's Soul, which I might put on in the background just to be funny. It is such a stupid song, but in the best possible way. It is art. And I just love Toby going out of his way to make the stupidest little tests. Wow, Sans can just really crane his neck. Aw, Papyrus. The snow just wants to go to your bro. I'm so sorry, man. I wonder if, like, Sans is sucking up the snowflakes without any, like, lip movement, because skeleton, it's hard to say, but that would make it so much funnier if he was just trolling his bro. I love Monster Kid in a comically big scarf. It's such a simple design change, but it suits them. As for the LTS build of Deltarune, by the looks of it, a lot of the changes were really minor. I did really appreciate that they changed Swatch's sprite. I'll probably put the updated version on screen, but it was a welcome change, because I thought that Swatch's overworld sprite in the previous builds was really jank looking compared to how cool they looked in the actual shop. Ah, wow, so that's really interesting, though, that Game Maker future updates may be needed as the game gets bigger. I wonder if, like, Deltarune, as far as Game Maker games go, is, like, one of the most massive in scale, and that's why they have to do all these changes. Like, maybe they're hitting limitations within what's possible. But I don't know enough about game dev for Game Maker specifically to know for sure. Aww. Frisk in a big little Santa suit, though. Extremely precious. I think it's so funny that the way the annoying dog is shown frozen here is the same block of ice that Birdly is in the Weird Route. And Temmie's art, always a treat. Oh my gosh, Frisk's umbrella is just collecting so much snow. Look at him go! They are just having a time. So, this is interesting. Like, this is our first look at that one Susie sprite that first appeared in the Spamton sweepstakes in context. And we can see from this image here the bridge in that starting area that we saw in the previous Chapter 3 teaser. I remember back when the sweepstakes first dropped, people thought that she was going to wake up on the couch in the green room. But looking at how the other chapters start, I think it makes more sense to have it be kind of further away from the main area, because we had that with the cliffs in Chapter 1, and then we had that with the first part of Cyberfield up until Queen showed up, where both chapters kind of had this subdued, quiet start, so I suspect we will see that again. Hearing about the gameplay structure, it's really interesting that there's a long portion without saving, and I wonder what that's going to be. I appreciate that it's fun despite the lack of saving possibility, though I guess that depends on if Toby decides to add it. From this little text here, I think it's very likely that this is referring to the pizza-scented, bath wash, or maybe it was shampoo. I'll have the actual text from the game on screen when I do my post-production. So I guess we're going into the bathroom because the Icy's pizza body wash or shampoo is in there. So I wonder if there's going to be some bathtub, sink, or toilet-related shenanigans. I mean, we have the giant toilet in Chapter 2, so anything goes. Now, Chapter 4. In my previous video with my predictions, I had a couple of ideas of what Chapter 4's Dark World could be, but I was pretty set on the big contenders being Flower King or Ices, or maybe something like the church, because Rudy mentioning going to church the next day. But looking at this now, because this tree is labeled Chapter 4 Holiday Tree, and if we look at the preview image with Noelle from the anniversary newsletter, we also see Noelle with a flashlight surrounded by Christmassy-looking decorations. So my thoughts are that the next Dark World for Chapter 4 might actually be the Holiday Mansion after all, or at the very least we will finally get to see the Holiday Mansion in the Light World section. But my friend Liz talked about this a bit, but there's a possibility that, like, Rudy comes home, maybe he's not feeling so good, and one thing leads to another and Dark World happens that way. I think it's still up in the air, and we don't have a ton of information in the text teasers below to really solidify. I would say, at the very least, the chances of the holiday residence becoming the focus of Chapter 4 just got a lot higher. Like, Inferno really doesn't tell us very much about the setting. Then we have some dialogue where the names are very conveniently left out. Like, I think we can presume Susie is talking here, but either... this could... I don't know enough about Game Maker internal code to say for sure. Like, my gut instinct is Susie is definitely one of the speakers, but could be dialogue choices, could be another character, Ralze or someone new. I think Toby censoring the name means he's definitely trying to conceal some form of detail. Lancer, I kind of have a hunch this will be for a Castletown section, just because I don't think Susie would want to risk bringing Lancer to another Dark World after what happened in the mansion. So this is probably just a look at, like, some of the silly Castletown exploits between chapters. Then the to buy or not to buy, probably shop-related. Now this Birdly dialogue is interesting for a couple of reasons. One, this could mean that Birdly is asking Chris to the festival, or he could be asking Susie, but also, I think this really solidifies the festival for Chapter 5. And there's another reason for that I'll get to in a moment. And then this El Niño dialogue, I think that probably is also going to be Castletown related, because if El Niño and... was it La Niña? I'd have to look again. But those are Chapter 3 characters, the weather duo. So it would make sense if they were just goofing off in Castletown, unless they end up like Rule's card and end up popping into Chris's pocket or something. But testing is really coming soon, and that's exciting news, because that means that it might not be especially late in 2025 before we actually get the chapters. So time will tell. For all I know, another newsletter in, like, the spring or something will give me even more to talk about, making that last video even less of a final predictions. But, while we're looking at Chapter 5, this holiday wreath. Now, with the ribbon and stuff, my gut instinct is this is going to be a decoration for the festival. We know that the mayor's been preparing for the festival, and the Holidays family is all about Christmas. One of my guesses was that Chapter 5 would be when the festival takes place. So what I'm wondering is if that's going to be before a Dark World, or if a Dark World might spring up during the festival, or if it's going to be a primarily Light World chapter. I saw some people suggesting that this Pizzapants reaction is a battle sprite, and that he's copying Chris, and that Pizzapants will be a party member for Chapter 5. I think that would be really, really funny. The only thing is that he's not in Dark World colors, although there was a teaser image for Noelle before Chapter 2 dropped that also used her Light World colors. the difference being that she was in a more distinctly Dark World outfit. So it could also just be that Pizzapants is dressing up nice for the festival and having a really goofy reaction to something. Editing dorked here because Liz brought to my attention that it's possible that Burger Pants dressed up nicely for the festival in order to meet his fake girlfriend. He really believes he has a real girlfriend, but it's actually Bratty pranking him with pictures of the low-res pizza bikini magazine from Sans' convenience store. So it could be as simple as that. But I think we should open our hearts and our minds to the possibility of Pizzapants' party member. Of all the characters to end up in the party, I do think this is, like, the funniest option. I think, though, if Chapter 5 really does end up being festival-focused, it could end with the start of the Roaring, and then Chapter 6 leads to taking shelter, going down into the bunker, trying to find the answers like I mentioned in that larger video. And if this is the case, I really loved the idea of, like, descending into hell, that being the bunker, plus number 6, and then ascending into heaven in Chapter 7, which would make a great church-themed Dark World, plus 7 being associated with luck. So that's one possibility for sure. But obviously, when you're only working from so much information from a silly newsletter, this is always going to be a bit of spitballing. That being said, the mention of the pizza shampoo and Pizzapants appearance could be a sign that an Icy's Dark World will happen even if the chapter focuses on the festival. It's possible that Icy's caters for it, for all we know. This merch was revealed a while ago, but I do think it's really cool. Love Sham finally getting a plush, and also the Important Person shirt is fantastic because it can double as a Chris or a Kara shirt, and it also really leans into the whole connection to you, the player, because there's that with both Kara and Chris in different ways. Deltarune obviously explores that in more depth, and let me tell you, when I checked the email version of this and saw my name in here, I was like, oh man. That just made it hit even harder, like, Toby, you sneaky little dog. Sham would really not believe that people wanted them that much, but it's an adorable plush, and I love this concept art. I think it also just helps kind of reveal more about Sham, especially if they end up being a battle later, like a secret boss. Them having a cool mage staff, love it. Though the implication that they might have had a fluffy tail that got torn off is really sad. It also does fit with the design, one button eye and then one empty eye hole. I want to see fan art of all the different types of tails people imagine for Sham, since Toby left the door open to that. You gotta love Frisk casually walking up with an umbrella full of snow. And just love the really subtle colors used for, like, the shading to give it a kind of more Deltarune than Undertale vibe. Undertale. I am not going to play this song because I learned my lesson after the spring newsletter video. I do not want to deal with Japanese music license holders because they tend to be really cutthroat with content ID stuff, and, like, that's true of a lot of music license holders, but from what I understand, copyright law is very different over there. But it's still cool to see Toby doing all these great collabs. Oh, and this is probably my favorite because I have the Papyrus bias, but also just, I love seeing Papyrus and Toriel interact and having a good time, because that's really not something you got a lot of in Undertale, and it can help kind of shed light on the kind of friendship they would have, where they can both have a good laugh even if it's at Papyrus's expense. And I'm really curious to see what other stuff Toby and co are working on for the next year, because it's not just Deltarune, so very, very interesting. But that's not all. This cute little snowman leads us to a short but sweet page, and we get this nice little snippet from Noelle that I will try to do in a voice that hopefully won't sound awful. When it snows, me and my sister and everyone have a contest to make the biggest snow angel of them all. We lie on the ground and spread out our arms and wave them until we get a shape just like us. I'm the smallest, even smaller than Chris, but I don't lose. Because after we stand up to look, DESS always tells me, "Hey look, Ellie, yours has even more hidden underneath," and pushes away all the snow I couldn't reach, so I have the biggest wings of all. I wish it could snow whenever I wanted. So gosh, this Just Like That Asriel and Kara page for the anniversary honestly, my gut instinct here is that in some regards, Noelle and DESS are like quasi-parallels to the Dreamer siblings, because one of them is absolutely missing from the other's life in a way where there's that big void and longing to see them again. Like with Asriel yearning to see Kara, projecting Kara onto Frisk, and all of that. And obviously the specifics are different because, for all we know, DESS is still alive and just out of commission, whether it's stuck in a dark world, stuck in the game's code, or is the Roaring Night. We don't know yet. But I love getting a little bit more insight onto the kind of person DESS is. And she really seems like a super supportive older sister, loves Noelle, really wants her to feel confident in herself despite being so young and kind of meek. And I have a really strong hunch that as we enter into, like, Chapter 4, I think, given the holiday-themed teasers, that's really when we're going to start to learn more about the family, about DESS, about the mayor, find out a bit more about what direction Rudy's plot is going to go. So, on the whole, a very interesting newsletter. And thank you so much for watching. Before we go, I do want to plug my recent video. It's 47 minutes long, me going through all these possibilities for setup and plot developments for Deltarune. I really wanted to go in depth, look back at where we started and what sort of pieces of the plot that Toby kind of has been sprinkling throughout, to try and look at many possibilities, because I don't like to stick too hard on one theory when we're working with only so many puzzle pieces. But it was a really fun project to put together, and I hope that you check it out. Anyway, happy holidays to those who celebrate. If you like what I do and want to support me into the future, check out my Patreon. As always, I put up a lot of work in progresses, whether it's video scripts, both complete and in process, music scratch tracks, concept art for Inverted Fate and other projects. Certain tiers allow for some art requests, updates on Inverted Fate, and on my Persona fic, The Crow Cries at Midnight. And going into 2025, I want to say my goal projects are going to be the meta-narrative video about different video games and why video games are such a great avenue for that kind of fourth wall breaking meta in their stories, but also the Goro Akechi analysis that I keep talking about. I finally got the last volume of Mementos mission that I needed to include that as my kind of character review and research, so that's awesome. And two other smaller Persona projects I might do are one on Morgana and one on Maruki, because I think Morgana gets a lot of unfair hate, and he's a silly kitty, and Maruki is a character who's very fascinating, but I feel that sometimes people miss a lot of the more complex and murkier sides of his character that make him even more interesting. And who knows, maybe I'll talk about some Sonic stuff with Sonic 3 on the horizon. Who knows what that'll ignite in me. But anyway, catch you around, stay tuned, and subscribe if you want to see more as it drops.